R.A. Montgomery, the original publisher and author of the Choose Your Own Adventure series, which is its own genre, I think. I think he's one of the most modern genre definers or creators. We don't have H.G. Wells anymore, unfortunately. He passed away recently. So let's talk a little bit about Choose Your Own Adventure and its impact and history on the world. So they were changing the way children would read when this first was pitched in, I think, 1978 to Bantam House. And it was kind of a struggle and a push to make this happen because, of course, it's this entirely different thing. It sounds normal to us. It also sounds like the precursor to video games in a big way because this is a narrative that you yourself have agency in. So that's pretty cool.
I grew up having them, and my parents went and they knocked down the TV antenna when I was like 6 years old, and we still had like movies. Yeah, we still had movies and DVDs. And now I'm in the take that, Mom. But yeah, no, these were always really nice, but I did find that the ones from my dad's childhood that he kind of saved and stuff were a lot more entertaining. Because eventually you kind of run out of ideas. I did like that in the beginning you could have 40 different endings. That it could end 40 different ways. So
that's crazy.
There actually is almost like replayability with a video game. Rereadability.
Wow.
Yes. Not just because it was a good story, but because it would actually be a different story. But then later on, we were laughing about it earlier. Yeah, some of the final titles before they ended the series was like the very first sentence is, "I'm a shark."
You are a shark.
And you're like, that's the story? Like, oh, sad.
Yeah.
Well, this started, I think, 1968. Edward Packard had the idea to do this after he's telling stories to his children, and they were more interested when they got to weigh in on themselves on the story and be like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I want to take the sword over there and kill the guy. And then, he'd ad-lib, go off book. And eventually he brought this idea to a publisher. They brought it to the house. And R.A. Montgomery was a big pusher of this, and then it became a huge success for a while. Huge success, 40 different endings, a lot of big stories. They made it like they started the serialized book series, which is still enjoyed by many series today. Goosebumps, Sweet Valley High, and it sells well.
Club, what?
Yes.
Club. I remember having a Batman Choose Your Own Adventure that was awesome.
Yeah.
That I think you can probably still find out there.
Did you punch the guy on the left? Did you punch the guy on the right?
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of punching, face punching.
It's a bat repellent spray.
Exactly.
Bat shark repellent spray. For when you're a shark and you choose your own adventure.
I actually want to find that one now. Some of them have to do with like alien invasions or tomb raiding or like crazy different things. But now, the more I say it, I'm like, I kind of want to read the shark one.
That's probably whoever created Riffs probably read that book, and then they were like, you know what? We should make a tabletop RPG with this. He'd be a shark.
He'd be a shark.
This could also be a great idea sparker for board games as well, and any other interactive narrative media.
Well, we were talking about the Telltale games, which are essentially the video game versions of these.
Yes, because you're not running around like, oh, I got a melee and parry, and you're more likely just like quick time and making choices and deliberating and regretting your choices if you're in The Walking Dead.
Such as life.
Yes. But what was funny about this is they found that in the Choose Your Own Adventure line, they tried to do sports games like sports books like Soccer Star and Skateboard Master. They did not sell. The ones that sold better were science shipwrecks, African mountain gorillas, more like adventure.
Yeah.
Nerds.
Because what's the storyline?
We don't play a lot of sports games anyways.
Or like the football Choose Your Own Adventure. Do you want to sign with this agent or this agent?
Do you try the swim move or do you do the rip move to try to get through the line? Or, you now have a concussion, skip to the end.
Yeah, so
just a bunch of blank pages.
You only get paid $1 million this season.
Don't really flow in quite the same way. You don't really deliberate. You just go, okay, I'll tackle.
Yeah.
Sure. So that didn't go as well, and it turns out adventure and science fiction are better. So, I'm just saying.
Knew it.
Yeah, and then he eventually retired when the series was showing exhaustion after a while. And they did kind of give way to the advent of computer games and people's interests going that way. But I think of it more as maybe a predecessor to the narrative that we use in computer games and video games and board games and card games and all the games.
All the games.
All the games. Well,
All the games.
they sold 250 million copies, and that was, more back then when you couldn't really rely on international sales and stuff like that, where they weren't translating it. So that's like, 250 million sales of little
good.
paperback
Really
books
good.
before it was even, reading was still something that only you had to do at school and stuff. There wasn't. Nowadays, I think even though the reading isn't as prevalent with the written word, but the in mainstream, stuff like that. But there's still titles that come out, Harry Potter, 50 Shades of Grey, whatever that is. There's still like trends that people still go and they still sell 10 million copies pre-sale, and I'm like, yay, that's exciting. I may not necessarily enjoy the books and stuff, but I think everything can kind of pay homage to things like this, like you were saying, the predecessor.
Yeah, well,
kind of
I mean,
forging
that's
the way.
going back to the choose your own adventure video games or the point and click. I mean, even all of those, even like World of Warcraft, there's a ton of reading and like lore and stuff. And there's actually a friend of mine who has a son, and he's been teaching his kid how to read through the World of Warcraft like lore quests that come up.
Wow.
And he's like 3 and running around and
That's
like
a
he was
lot
teaching
for a
himself to read.
3-year-old.
Yeah. So if you kind of think about that, people like to give video game shit because they're not being educational or teaching, but like stuff like this, started. It can still. We need to get kids excited to read again, and this was kind of the first bastion of doing that.
Well, R.A. Montgomery actually started. He was a former high school teacher, and he saw the educational value in game structure, which is essentially applied over, as we said, over to literal games instead of just literary games. So, I agree with that. This was a great thing to spark many great things beyond it: education, games, more kinds of media. So, thank you, R.A. Montgomery, for all your work toward this and the stemming, treeing branches that you have started. Did you read Choose Your Own Adventure books, audience, and do you miss them? Let us know what you think below in the comments, and please be sure to subscribe for more.